So welcome to a brand new playoff recap edition of the Washington Wizards MyGM mode. We had an awesome 2025 playoff run. We eventually captured the NBA championship in a 4-3 series against the San Antonio Spurs with a game-winning shot. I think it was last second. I can't really check, but I believe it was a last-second shot by Stephen Ferguson, our leader. He was a rookie 2 years ago. We drafted him 2 years ago, basically. And he's been stepping up and playing really well. So our run was amazing. So we entered the playoffs right after the very last game in the regular season, but tragedy struck when our star point guard, our star of the team basically, Emmanuel Mudiay, who's been playing really well lately, he was on fire and he broke his left ankle. I thought it was over. I thought we're not gonna make it past the quarterfinals against the Cavs. So I just decided, hey, I'll just sim it. I'll see what happens. So we sim game one. Let's see if we can go to the next one. So we sim game one against the Cavs. We won game one at home, so I was pretty pumped. Game two, we surprisingly won it, 100-95. I was pumped. We're up 2-0 against them. Then we went to Cleveland, and we won by 1 point, 101-100. Amazing. So Cleveland was one of our rivals throughout the entire year. Our owner had a demand that we win our season series against them, so they must mean something to us. And we are up 3-0 against them. I was pretty pumped. So we're going back to Cleveland. And we eventually sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers 106-89 game. Kyrie Irving was playing well, but wasn't enough for Stanley Johnson. He was amazing in the playoffs. One of the best players in the team. In that game, Chase Jeter stepped up, and everyone just played well. So then we moved on to the semifinals. It looked like our second matchup would be the Miami Heat after they swept the Charlotte Hornets. So now, the Charlotte Hornets, which were the team that broke Mudiay's left ankle. I was so mad when that happened. Anyway, we went to Miami. I thought for sure we were going to lose this game lose this series after we lost game one in Miami, 101-92. I was kind of freaking out because Jason Tatum and Marc Boone were playing extremely well against us. Whereas our team wasn't playing that well that game. Game two came, and we eventually destroyed them 129-96. Then again, Marc Boone and Jason Tatum played well. But that game, Ferguson and Stanley Johnson stepped up, 28 points apiece. Stanley Johnson is still playing on fire. Unreal basketball played by him in this playoffs, by the way. So then we're going back to Washington at home. We eventually won that game 115-99, 2 in a row. So we were up, I believe, 2-1 in the series against the Miami Heat, where I was pretty pumped. But then again, Marc Boone and Jason Tatum played well. Whereas our team, Stanley Johnson and Stephen Ferguson played well as usual. Even Okafor stepped up that game. Then in game 4. Then in game 4, obviously Stanley Johnson and Stephen Ferguson stepped up. Same with Okafor too, though. He played decent. And we won 110-97. So we're up 3-1 against the Miami Heat, who were leading our division. They won our division against us. They won 60-12, I believe. No. Was it? No, it was 60-22 or 61-11. Yeah, 61-11. That's what the record was. So I thought for sure we wouldn't be able to even be close to beating them. But we're up 3-1 in the series. We went back to Miami. We lost game 4. Game 5, we lost the chance to even. We were so close to beating them, but we couldn't in Miami because Marc Boone and Jason Tatum stepped up. And no one else really played that good for us. Stanley Johnson wasn't playing as well as he usually was in the playoffs. And then we just thought, hey, we're going back to Washington. Let's win this one at home. And we eventually did 108-103. Marc Boone played well. Jason Tatum didn't, though. And Stephen Ferguson and Rudolph Daly stepped up. The rookie who we got, I don't know who we traded for him. I can't remember that far back, but we traded for him. He went 2nd overall in the draft. He's probably one of our best potential guys with A+ potential. A bright career ahead of him. But he stepped up that playoff game. And we're moving on to the conference finals. So we won a 4-2 series against the Miami Heat. Whereas Boston, they won a close series against the Raptors. I don't know how the Raptors took them to 7 games that game. Or that series. Then they moved on to face the Bucks, who swept the Orlando Magic. So looked like there's three sweeps in the quarterfinals in the Eastern Conference. Damn, but anyway, they moved on to Milwaukee. They swept them easily. So they're moving on to face us. And we've never won against the Boston Celtics with their dynasty in Josh Jackson, Shannon Riley, and Cheick Diallo. And their team is stacked too, from the bench to their starters. They had no major injuries. We had Emmanuel Mudiay, who was obviously out, starting point guard. And so we had a tough series to face off against the Boston Celtics. So game 1, we surprisingly won 100-83 in Boston too. Josh Jackson played well. Same with Isaiah Briscoe, but Shannon Riley and Cheick Diallo did not play well for them. And Stanley Johnson stepped up. Same with Bob Ellis Jr. and Ferguson played decent, I guess. His shooting was terrible, but hey, you put in 13 points. It's enough. It's good enough for me. Then in game 2, we're still in Boston. We obviously lost that one, 129-119. Stanley Johnson played well, but the rest of the team didn't play as good as him. Steven Ferguson, bad shooting night again. But anyway, they played well. Shannon Riley stepped up, 32 points. Josh Jackson, 26. And Cheick Diallo, 25. So their big three was showing up. Even Isaiah Briscoe is playing well, 24 points. So they dominated us that game. And we're going back to Washington with a 1-1 series, tied series. So we're in Washington, and we won 126-111 in game 3. Stanley Johnson and Steven Ferguson stepped up. Same with Rudolph Daly too. He stepped up as well. They all played well, and we beat the Celtics at home. And Josh Jackson and Shannon Riley played well, but Cheick Diallo didn't show up. 3 for 12 shooting. Anyway, I think, we're up, I believe, 3-1 against them. No, 2-1, sorry. We're up 2-1 against them. So we move on to game 4, and we defeat them at home again. 2 in a row. So 118-102. Josh Jackson didn't play well. Isaiah Briscoe played decent. Cheick Diallo played decent. But Shannon Riley did not step up at all. 4 for 14 shooting. Whereas our Wizards, Bob Ellis Jr. stepped up. Stanley Johnson stepped up. Okafor stepped up. And even Steven Ferguson, 15 points, 12 assists. Dishing out the assists. He knew he couldn't shoot, so he just started passing. Anyway, we're up 3-1 against the Celtics. So then you go to game 5 in Boston. And we defeat the Boston Celtics to move on to the NBA Finals, 102-93. Then again, their big three didn't step up. Josh Jackson, 11 points. Cheick Diallo, 10 points. Shannon Riley, only 21 points. 5 for 11 shooting. Our team, Stanley Johnson and Steven Ferguson, the obvious playoff MVPs, I guess you can call them, stepped up and played well against the Celtics to defeat them. So I was amazed that we even beat the Boston Celtics. They went, I think, 71-11. They almost tied the Bulls' 95-96 record, which is the best record in NBA history. Almost tied it by 1 game. Lost 1 more game they needed to. We're moving on to the NBA Finals against the San Antonio Spurs, who just got Dwayne Norris a year ago. Generational talent, A+ potential. Probably going to be their next point guard. Who's going to be staying there for a long time. Him and Jackson Hamlin are stepping up in San Antonio. I think they actually made the playoff. Yeah, they actually made the playoffs this year, so they're playing well. So they first won their first series against Golden State. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson's gone, so it's just Steph Curry. They won 4-2 series against them. Then they swept Utah, and then they moved on to Sacramento in the conference finals and easily beat them 4-1. So then we were meeting in the NBA Finals. I don't know how we played against the Spurs this year. I believe I don't know. I think we lost a few games against the Spurs. Anyway, game 1, we were in Washington. We had home court advantage because we had a better record than them. But they had Jackson Hamlin. We didn't have a 95 overall player. So they won 100-87. I was starting to freak out at this point. You can't lose the first game at home, especially when you have home court advantage. Can't do that, but we did it. So obviously we had bad performances by the team besides Bob Ellis Jr. Everyone else kind of sucked. And of course Jackson Hamlin stepped up. Same with Blake Griffin, who he sent an offer to. He accepted our offer, but the problem is we didn't have salary cap because we're signing Corey Joseph and our starting point guard for the playoffs, Lonnie Baldwin, who replaced the injured Emmanuel Mudiay after the broken left ankle. So he's our backup plan after a few years ago, or was it a year ago, that we lost Boudier in the playoffs, and we had nobody to step up. So he was our backup plan, and he played decent in this playoffs. But anyway, we lost game 1 against the San Antonio Spurs. I was freaking out because we lost at home. So we moved on to game 2, we left it in the tracks, and we beat them 109-93 at home. Jackson Hamlin was playing like fire, but their bench didn't show up. But Dennis Smith did. And our team, Stanley Johnson, 29 points. Great performance by him. Steven Ferguson, 15 points. Rudolph Daly, 16 points. The three good players of our team who played well the entire playoffs were stepping up. So we moved on to game 3 in San Antonio, and we won 116-102. So we were up 2-1 in the series. Jackson Hamlin played well, 30 points. PJ Harrison stepped up. Blake Griffin played well. Dwayne Norris played decent. Shooting was terrible, but their bench didn't show up as usual. Kawhi Leonard only 6 points. Rodney Paul only 5 points. He had a lot of rebounds, but only 5 points. But our team, Stanley Johnson, 31 points. Steven Ferguson, 22 points. They're both stepping up. I swear Stanley Johnson is the finals MVP. At least playoff MVP. He played extremely well. Anyway, we were up 2-1 in the series against the San Antonio Spurs. Move on to game 4. And we lost it 108-85. So Steven Ferguson played well. Stanley Johnson played good too. Lonnie Baldwin played decent, but the rest of our team did not show up. Rudolph Daly was having an off game. 2 for 10 shooting. He took 3-pointers when he didn't need to. So, bench didn't show up. But their bench did. Jackson Hamlin, he exploded, 39 points. Gordon Hayward played... Owen Hayward, 16 points. Dwayne Norris, 15. Their bench didn't show up too much. Their players played well, though. Well enough to win. So it was a 2-2 series tied at 2 apiece. We're going back to Washington, and we lost in Washington. 3-2 series against the San Antonio Spurs. We were down. But all over Twitter, it was trending. Hashtag down, not out. Just like the Toronto Blue Jays in that Texas Rangers series in ALDS. So Stanley Johnson played well. Oakford played decent, but the rest of our team didn't show up. Steven Ferguson was having a bad night. 7 for 19 shooting. 0 for 5 3-pointers. Our team didn't play well. Our bench didn't step up. And we needed to. The Spurs, Dwayne Norris played extremely well, and Jackson Hamlin played like himself. Over 30 points. I swear he averaged the most points in the playoffs. Their bench didn't show up much, but their starters did. So we're down 3-2 in the series. We were going back to San Antonio. I thought for sure we were going to lose it, but we kept our high spirits up. We thought that we weren't going to lose this series. We're not going to lose the NBA Finals. We just made it. We beat the Boston Celtics. We beat the Miami Heat. We beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. We can't go this far and quit right now. So we go back to San Antonio with a winning attitude, and that delivers. Steven Ferguson explodes. Good game by him. 35 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. And everyone else played pretty well. Good shooting by all of us. I swear there isn't a guy under 50% shooting. Except Lonnie Baldwin, but who cares? The Spurs, Jackson Hamlin played not himself. 7 for 20 shooting. He didn't play well. Dwayne Norris didn't play well. 5 for 17 shooting. PJ Harrison, 4 for 12. They played terrible. Their bench didn't show up. So it was 3-3. We just made it to Game 7. We were going back to Washington. It was home. We're going home. We had the opportunity to win the NBA title at home, our second franchise. And we deliver. 84-83 game. Game 7. I swear, I remember looking on the Simcast, last second shot won it. It was tied, but we won it. Stanley Johnson, 19 points. Rudolph Daly, 18 points, 10 rebounds, double-double. In Game 7, clutch. And Stanley Johnson, he didn't play that well, but that's the reason why we have a good bench. They step up at the right times. Steven Ferguson played well. Lonnie Baldwin played well. Rudolph Daly played outstanding. He even made a 3-pointer. Everyone played well. Whereas the Spurs, all they had was Jackson Hamlin and Dwayne Norris and Blake Griffin, and their bench did not show up. Did not show up. Why even bother going to the game? So they choked. They lost 2 in a row, and we won our second franchise NBA title without Emmanuel Mudiay even starting. I thought we were done. This should easily make a Lifetime movie. You're gonna see this. You're gonna see a documentary on this on Netflix pretty later. ESPN 30 for 30. If they did one of video games. So this was an outstanding playoffs. I don't know how we went on this incredible run without our leader, our starting point guard, Mudiay, obviously. I've said that more than enough times, but I just can't believe that we won this series. We were clutch at the right times. Unlike all those years where we got swept in the quarterfinals against the Bulls. We lost so many series in the semis. We lost last year to the 76ers right after they beat the Boston Celtics. 4-1 series. So that was an amazing playoff series. And our main man who we signed halfway through the season, Jeff Teague, hit 1,000 games in his career. And he finished his NBA career, amazing one at best, with an NBA title. So, thanks. I guess I'll end this episode off right here, this amazing playoff recap. So make sure to like, subscribe for more Washington Wizards MyGM mode. This may be the last season next year, because I'm getting into my Cavs one later. But thanks for watching, and I will see you later.